SJ Hazim, known for many roles that you play around town, but you also are on the board of directors for NAMI Kansas, correct, sir?
Yes, ma'am. I am very privileged to be on that board, and I'm so happy about the things that they're doing because I was unaware that they even existed over a year ago.
And that's part of what this whole Hear Me, See Me project is all about, making people aware of resources that are out there, but then also encouraging them to get and seek that help. For people who don't know SJ, give us the Cliff Notes version of the various entities you are involved in and have been involved in that maybe some people know about you around our community.
Well, I'll say early on,
We'll go all the way back to around 97, 98, local hip hop artists. I had a song called No Coke in My Remy. A lot of people rocked with that. As I proceeded, I did a whole lot of activist work with Sonny Scroggins and Curtis Pitts early on in the early 2000s. As we move forward, I launched something called Project Forward in 2018. Between 2018 and 2019, I had between 1,800 and 3,000 meetings that year, trying to do the next Project Forward, which ended up turning into top tier. Eventually the whole volunteer board that we had for some time. And so in just various committees, various boards that I've been on, a cheerleader for Topeka, Kansas. I had a company called Clad Astra for a little bit of time to where just boosting community pride. So, and then I'll just throw this in. It was crazy because it had never happened again for me. But between 2017 and 2019, I was on the front page of the Topeka Capital Journal 19 times. So that's me in the nutshell, and I'm the vice president of NAMI Kansas now. In less than a year, I went from just a regular board member to being the vice president.
And that's what leads us to having you here today for this particular conversation. If I had to describe you, SJ, it would be someone who was always, like you said, a cheerleader, always smiling, very positive. What didn't we maybe see?
I'm the most pessimistic person you'll ever meet in your life.
You say with a laugh.
I was. I mean, at one point in life, you tell me good morning, I say, what's good about it? I had to change a whole lot of different things. And, so the first experience I had where I found out I had some mental health issues was back in 1997, where some different things occurred that actually landed me into needing inpatient help, and also being on a regimen of medications that could help me in different things like that. But I've been off medication since the 90s. I was fortunate to where I started implementing a lot of positive coping mechanisms, and art and music, writing was definitely a big part of that.
What were the challenges in ever talking about that portion of your life? And I think this is perhaps maybe has some universal truth across races, ethnicities, backgrounds, that people just don't necessarily talk about it. But when you talk about being a young Black man, what were some maybe particularly unique challenges for you in your community that made mental health something that maybe was put on the back burner, shoved aside?
Well,
just culturally coming up, there's things that we don't talk about, and things that only get talked about in the house and really don't even get talked about in the house. You might not feel like getting out the bed. You might be depressed. There might be different things. I know early on, I didn't think that my voice mattered. I've got there's 8 kids in my family, and we definitely didn't have a whole lot coming up. I was born Islamic. We didn't celebrate Christmas. There's so many different things that had happened, but as far as we've never really talked about mental health. It's not anything that has really been talked about a whole lot. We're just now starting to talk about it more. But even in this field, I'm the first VP that NAMI Kansas has ever had that was of color. So this is a field that you don't see many people who look like me in it. We're not really comfortable talking about it. I'll speak for myself. I'm definitely not comfortable talking about some of the different things because you could be judged for your past transgressions. But I've got to the point to where I've done so much in this community and since '97, since my first, episode or whatever you want to call it, to where people seeing the change in me, even being on part of the few of the community members who helped select our new chief of police. I think that I've accomplished enough things that people know that I got a good heart and things like that. So now I feel if anybody can talk about some of these issues, mental health issues, it would be me, and it would be accepted by the majority of the people from seeing me in community, knowing that I'm a good person, knowing that I care and everything like that. I think that's the biggest thing. But a big challenge is even how I look. I have gold in my mouth. My mother had gold in her mouth. Let her rest in peace. My father has gold in his mouth. My uncles and different things. So I wanted gold teeth at an early age, and I got those. I've got tattoos, and sometimes people can look at me, and if they haven't seen me on the news or at a board meeting, and I'm just walking down the street, they might not know it's SJ, and I might say hi, they might not say hi back, and I know who they are, but sometimes all Black people look alike to some people.
Well, it's interesting you say that. There are articles and studies that have been done on the links between racism and mental health. How valid do you feel that is, that being judged by how you look, and in particular by the color of your skin, can play into some mental health issues for people of color in their daily life?
Well, it's a big
thing. I mean, you even hear things about code switching, right? And then you got code blending and things like that, to where we put on more of a white voice when we get on to a show or whatever else. I really tried to walk this line to where I talk the same all the time. So, but that's on purpose. So there's a twist and everything, because we do a lot for white comfort. Like I'm a poet, and I want to make a poem about pedestrians crossing, because when I'm downtown, I hit that pedestrian crossing different than my white counterpart. We've been together at different times when that happens. They'll just step right off into the street. One time, one of me and my associates was walking, and he just stepped right into the street and saw this car went right past. He was offended. I'm laughing because I already knew what was going to happen. It's normally about 3 cars that pass by, and then I'm able to walk across. But I never hit pedestrian crossing thinking I really got the right of way.
And that's what I love about having conversations with you, SJ. I feel like we're comfortable enough with each other. You can tell me your experience, and I truly want to understand. And I'm glad that you know that I want to understand when I ask you questions. What was it that made you finally feel comfortable enough, or the tipping point that made you feel you needed to speak out and share about your own mental health experience? The part of it you had said was you finally got the confidence and felt people knew you enough that you could also speak out about this. But why did you think that it was something that you thought to yourself, you know what, I need to add my voice to this conversation?
Well, I'll tell you,
NAMI Kansas. So there's a lady by the name of Stacy Litton. She runs Litton Arts Consultancy, and she does stuff for NAMI Kansas. I'm one of the check signers, so I got to sign her check every month. But she came to an event that was at Omni Circle when we're doing authentic expressions. That's my poetry thing that we do. We use it for a lot of different things. It's definitely a healing art. So I shared one of my most revealing poems called My Soliloquy, and she heard it. She could see mental health issues written all over it. She sent me an email the next day and asked if I would be the chair for the honorary chair for the NAMI Walk 2023. And I said yes. At that point, getting to know who NAMI was and everything, I felt a protection. So where now I can actually talk about some things and not have it come back to bite me. Because there's a stigma with mental health. And the thing is, there's a lot of people who are high operating people in this town and a lot of other towns who sit at the top of some organizations who have mental health issues, but they won't tell you that. They'll tell me. Some other people, they won't come out because of the stigma associated with it, thinking they might not be able to continue to do their jobs or not be able to be responsible. And that's a scary thing, because mental health means you have something going on in your brain. And if somebody thinks that means that you can't be dependable in everything, then that's a falsehood. Because I try to make my follow through really be efficient. I really don't want to agree to do anything that I can't actually do myself. I don't like to depend on other people to believe that, okay, well, we can do this, we can do this. If I agree to something, I'm going to be able to do it all myself.
Because I won't agree to it if I can't.
How much of that is being honest with other people and how much of it has been being honest with yourself?
Oh man.
You know what? So first it came to me having to be honest with myself before I could be honest with anybody else. I mean, that's that shadow work. That's the stuff you got to really look in the mirror and find out what your default mechanisms are. So that's like, if I'm upset, if I'm nervous, if I'm anything, what's my default mechanism? Well, mine has been arrogance. Since I was a kid, I'd have to do that because I've always been pretty advanced and I get hated on, singled out or whatever, because I might do some stuff that's different before it's time or whatever. So I learned to just cut everybody out, act like they don't even exist. And that's not a good defense mechanism, but the thing is, that was my default. So I had to make an intentional conscious decision to not do that and to not just react, but to learn how to respond and not let people push my buttons, because it's like a phone number. If I got your phone number, Melissa, and I dial those digits, your phone's gonna ring. That means I got your number. So what happens is you gotta change your number sometimes and not let people's stones affect you.
Changing your number. I like that. I think we all could do that from time to time. What did you learn when you first got involved with NAMI Kansas? Because obviously you said this started for you back in the late 90s, your journey with mental health, but yet you didn't even know about NAMI until a couple of years ago. How big of a breakthrough was that for you? And what have you learned since then?
It's been huge. I mean, because since I've started sharing, it's almost like the universe and God has responded to that. I've been meeting more people.
I've been given more responsibility on different things. People are actually listening to my lived experience, because at this point, there's some things to where your lived experience, they don't want to hear it. Nobody wants to hear it. I mean, that's the whole critical race theory type of stuff. We take out the lived experience because we don't care what your lived experience is. That's not cool. That's not good. I mean, if I can't talk about my past and that's my lived experience, what does that mean? That means you don't care about nothing I got to say. So why would I talk? Why would I say anything? Why would I pour my heart out on things that have happened to me inside the inpatient stay I may have had on the third floor of Stormontville, or whatever? You know what I'm saying? I've had experiences to where I've seen some different things that were not good, you know, and it's like they want to be swept under the rug and just not talked about. We're just not going to talk about it. Man, I know what happened, but we're not going to talk about it.
Not talking about it doesn't make it go away.
No, it doesn't. What it does, it infuriates the person who can't talk about it.
Because it eats them up and everything else like that. This is how some people commit suicide, or they become a murderer, or they do whatever. You know, a lot of things are cries for help. Like, people didn't realize gangster rap, you know, early on and everything else were cries for help. This was mental health issues. You know, the craziest person in the hood who got the most bodies, who killed the most people, that keeps other people off of them. So sometimes that's people's default mechanism, murder. And unfortunately, there's more murderers in this world than who are free than we actually talk about or think about. But you know, these are different people who I'm trying to reach in different ways and everything like that. But just being authentic, because it has to be talked about, because these things are happening.
How important has it been to realize people are listening? And how much would you recommend people, and maybe is this part of your bit of advice here and the life lesson? If you feel like you're not being heard, keep talking.
Yeah, I think so.
I think that we have to tell the story.
But we have to tell the story right. And it can't be a story glorifying
your past life and what you may have done or whatever. I did a lot of things, like I said, I was in the Marine Corps, and I don't talk about it because I don't have an honorable discharge. You know, so this is where some of the story is going to start. I turned 21 in a federal penitentiary, Quantico, Virginia, for a fist fight I got into in the Marine Corps right around my birthday time, because I was a heavy drinker and things like that. And I was a womanizer at the time. And one of the women that I was with, another guy liked, And one of my guys came over and said he's talking mess and this, that, and me just being with whatever. Ended up going by his room and we got in a fist fight and he went flatline. Now he didn't die, you know, it was a near-death experience. He came back and everything like that. But I got locked up immediately and thought I was going to be facing 25 years because they didn't think he was going to survive that week.
But he did.
But anyway, that's a story in itself. You know, I've made a lot of repentance from that because I've changed my behaviors because of different things that have happened. But I have had things that have happened in my life like that. So I never tell anybody about my Marine Corps experience, but I did over 33 months in the Marine Corps. I always had a leadership building and was stationed out in headquarters Marine Corps, Arlington, Virginia. So these are parts of my story that I've kept hidden and that I haven't talked about. But there's so much more and everything like that, you know. But the whole time I was locked up in Quantico, Virginia, I was in a 5x8 cell, you know, locked up over 23 hours and 30 minutes a day. That was special quarters. So that happened.
How empowering is it to be able to be free with your story?
Man,
You know, I tell you what, anybody who's ever done any type of time or whatever, man, just being able to walk outside when you want to, being able to eat when you want to, not being in a cell where your toilet is, your seat is, your bed, and everything else. I mean, I really try to live life to the fullest. It's probably why I'm so active, you know, and also feeling like a failed parent twice over. You know, there's other experiences that I've gotten this life to where, you know, a lot of people may have took their own life and stuff like that. I definitely am so glad that I'm still here and I have a story to tell. And there's so much of the story that I can't tell it all, you know, because there's some things that will make people more uncomfortable than that story I just said. That's not the worst of it. You know, I've never killed anybody, so we're gonna throw that out there. That has never happened. But you know, there's a whole lot of different things I did to add to my reputation early on because I was racing towards death. I mean, key thing, I joined the Marine Corps. You gotta raise your hand and say, you know, I'm ready to die for my country. And I was ready to go out in the blaze of glory, and I lived life like that. And when I moved out in the D.C. area, I thought I had a chip on my shoulder from being from a small town. And I had a Napoleon complex, so anybody could get it. So I was one of the most dangerous people that you'd want to meet because I was out to prove something, and my Marine Corps buddies will attest to all that.
What would be your pitch to people to not be like you, not wait 30 years to share your story, to come out of the shadows, to find the support and the resources like those that NAMI can offer?
I say, don't be in a rush to die. Don't be in a rush to try to live the big city lifestyle if you might be from a smaller town or whatever. I see that a lot. You know, the people who are willing to do anything and everything to get a reputation. Don't rush to die because, you know, I never appreciated life until real life happened to me. I never appreciated Topeka until I moved away and came back and found out that the price of living is great here. We don't have traffic here. You could actually raise your children here. There's so many benefits, you know, but some people who have never left the town won't actually experience that, you know. So I would say be yourself, actually find out who you are, you know, and you can find your purpose in a couple different ways, you know, things that you're really excited about or things that really tick you off. Your purpose could be in one of those different things because it means that you're willing to try to make some changes, you know, and that's faith with your sleeves rolled up. You know, you got to put some action behind anything that you actually want to have happen. You got to put your energy towards it. And a story that is untold is like a thought that never happened. It can't help anybody.
And we appreciate you sharing your story to help people now in the way that you're able to, that experience, what you've been through, being able to share that and talk about it and help people see your experience, how that shaped you, how that's helped you become who you are now. Obviously, you're on the board for NAMI, which is one organization, but at the same time, as we know, things aren't one size fits all for folks. So when you think about NAMI, how diverse are the resources that NAMI can offer to help those who maybe this portion doesn't sit well with them, but maybe this part will?
You know, there's a whole
Whole lot of different things that NAMI has. They have peer-led groups. You know, they've got things from the lived experience. They've got our stories. There's so many different things inside of NAMI. And like I said, they're a national organization. We're in a lot of different counties in Kansas, you know, and other states as well. So NAMI wants to be a household name. Because a lot of people, they haven't heard of us and they don't know about us. And it's just like the whole thing about resources and what you guys are doing. I just want to salute you guys, WIBW, for the Hear Me See Me campaign and how you guys are making sure Kansas knows more. And I mean, and you guys are definitely, I mean, you guys have been on top for as long as I remember. I've been seeing you broadcasting for forever, Melissa, and you haven't aged. And I'm trying to figure out what
Thank you for
that's
that.
about.
Thank you for
I'm
my
trying to figure out.
self-boost for the day. That's good for my mental health. I appreciate it.
I'm still trying to figure out exactly what's going on. Maybe Doug has the key. I don't know. We're gonna figure it out how she's got the fountain of youth. But yes, so what you guys are doing, I mean, when Eric Patterson Jr. said something to me about it last year, you know, I shed a tear while I was talking to him because I'm like, man, why do you care? Why do you care like this? And he shared some things with me, and it was just, man, I mean, you guys really care because, like I said, there's secrets I've been keeping for over 26 years, and it's time for some of those secrets to come out. And I feel safe because I have NAMI's protection on different things. You know, I mean, I lost a Fortune 500 job while I had FMLA and was protected. And it was all bad. You know what I'm saying? I'm not even going to name that company's name, but it wasn't right. It was not right. And you know, and I lost all my benefits that day. I couldn't even go to my therapist again. That happened in 2020. It's one of the worst times for mental health. You know, but you know, there were some loopholes. There are loopholes out here. So I'm a NAMI because I want some laws to change. But there's loopholes in FMLA. And they can get you for attendance even if your stuff is protected by a psychiatrist and everything else. And that's how I got done. And I just kept it under wraps. I never talked about it or anything else like that. But every time I think about it, it infuriates me. And it lets me know that these big companies don't care about us, especially our mental health, because they laugh about it. And people sit here and look on the screens to see who called in FMLA, and they be at the time clock talking crap about, oh, they're faking, they're this, they're that. Man, you know, that's the type of stuff that ticks me off because, you know, there's a lot of different reasons I had FMLA, a lot of different reasons. And they'll be like, oh, well, we saw you out in the community and everything else like that. Yeah, that's my positive coping mechanism. So I don't feel so bad of a failed father. I want to help other people.
It's
So
seeing past what your public persona might be, really see. It's kind of like, you know, we're running a public service announcement right now where everybody's laughing, having a good time, and then time stops where the gentleman says how he's really feeling. Because how often are we asked that question? How are you? Oh, I'm fine, I'm great. But are you really? You know, how often do we take the time to hear your story, to hear my story, to see what's really going on? Because the expected response is, fine, it's great.
Exactly, just to get them out of your face.
Just to get them out of your face, you know, it's like, yeah, I'm fine. But all these thoughts inside is no, I'm not fine at all. I'm dying inside. You know, right now I'm thinking about murdering somebody because of what they did. I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking about that. And even saying those words like that, I mean, it's like, yeah, it's shocking. But the thing is, people have these thoughts. A lot of times they think about offering themselves and everything else like that. So it's just like, and I know that there's different ways you're supposed to talk. You know, when you talk about mental health days, because it could be a trigger, whatever, but you know, I deal with mental health stuff. So then therefore, I'm not going to be the most polished on everything, but you are going to get the truth from me and stuff like that. So it infuriates me when people are judged from seeing me on the news or seeing me out at a public event and everything like that. Well, that's one of my positive coping mechanisms is people. And actually, you know, being intertwined with the people and making people smile and just, you know, allowing my energy to be what it is because it gets me out of my own rut. It makes me not think when you help somebody else, that's the quickest way to lift your own self up.
You know, and I feel like when we stop and listen to each other's stories, we feel that, or we find that we have more in common. You know, people laugh if I say I'm shy, but I really am. And it's taking that deep breath and getting outside of myself. You have no idea how much my heart races before I start emceeing an event or before I speak up and ask a question at a news conference, because there's always that anxiety and that moment of doubt where, what if I sound silly asking this question? Or
And
what if I say the wrong thing in front of the crowd?
And you're one of the best. I mean, you've interviewed so many different people. I can't even. One of the latest was Dolly Parton. I mean, so iconic and everything. But I would have never guessed that,
Melissa. I mean, you do what you do so well, and and that's the thing. It's like with me gathering volunteers. Some people wonder how it happens, and it's like the only reason I'm able to gather volunteers is because people know I'm a volunteer myself. If you're not a volunteer and you're not out there like that, you're not going to be able to gather. You can only gather what you are.
And you are a lot of things, SJ. You are very multifaceted, and I appreciate that so much. Once again, how do we find NAMI? If we need to find the resources, find that support, how do we find NAMI?
Well, if you go to Facebook and just go to NAMI Kansas, that's NAMI Kansas, it'll pop up and everything like that. And there's a whole lot of stuff we have on the Facebook site. The next thing we got coming up is going to be the NAMI walks, and that's going to be at the mall here in March. But NAMI is in every state, but here in Kansas, that'd be the best way that you could find it, is just right there on the Facebook, or even if you want to type it in NAMIKansas.com, it'll come up as well.
And for those who find support through artistic expressions, tell us when we can find that program, because I want to give you a chance to shout that out too.
So Authentic Expressions right now, we'll be doing some different stuff because we're partnering with actually it's Independent Living, but now they're under a name called Lois Curtis. They just bought the Antioch Life Center. So we're going to end up having a real new kickoff event here sometime in April for a big extended Authentic Expressions. And Authentic Expressions will have an album this year too, with some of the premier poets, including Matt Spezia, 8-time National Award. You'll hear me as well. People like J.Q. Guest, Eric Patterson Jr., Tierra Patterson, lady named Acapella. And we might even get our poet laureate emeritus, rock star Medina, to be on it as well. But you look out for that this year. That will be happening because that is actually a real healing art. And I think poetry is a mechanism that's not utilized as much as it could be to help with our mental health.
Well, I love that you were open and sharing with us, SJ. I think your voice is very important to add to this conversation, a conversation that will continue. Of course, we want everybody to know that if you are in immediate danger, call 911. If you need to talk, if you're in crisis, the 988 hotline, the Suicide Prevention Lifeline, somebody is there 24/7 to talk to you. And, SJ, you mentioned all the resources that are out there that we might not have even realized. They started compiling a list as part of this project, and there are really hundreds when you start going through the list. We have it for you on WIBW.com/hearmesee me. SJ Hazim, I appreciate you.
I appreciate you as well, Melissa. Thank you so much for having me.
You bet. Thanks.